Um, what is TPS and what's new with
Okay. Yeah.
TPS? Like,
I'll
tell me
explain
about
to you.
what it is and like what's changing here. What could change with this new
So
order?
So, like I said, TPS is a program that has been here in the United States for decades now, and essentially TPS, it stands for Temporary Protected Status. So essentially, immigration law gives the power, right, to the Department of Justice, right, to designate countries, people from countries, right, that are already in the United States, right, um, and give them a temporary protected status based on civil strife, natural disasters, political instability, all of that. So back in the 90s, they gave it to a lot of Hondurans and Nicaraguans because of Hurricane Mitch, right? They've given it to Haitians because of the earthquake and the political instability. Salvadorians because of civil war that was going on as well. Most recently, people in African countries as well.
Right now, the
And
most
most
common that I've seen
recently,
is Ukraine and Venezuela. Like Ukraine's one now, right?
Ukraine and Venezuela. And essentially, what it says is that if you were here, regardless of the manner in which you entered the United States, but you weren't here for a certain period of date and you're from these designated countries, then essentially you can apply for this TPS, and you are not no longer in an immigration limbo, right? You are in status, which means that you're here legally, you can work here legally. It has to be renewed, right, by the secretary every 18 months typically. But I mean, like I said, for example, Nicaraguans have been getting it since the 90s, people in Central America, and they
And
just
they
keep.
still can.
Yeah, well, you can't claim it. Like, I mean, if you renew it, you can renew it if you did it, back then.
Oh,
Because
but
remember,
you can't
it's
like
always
claim it
like,
now. What? So
yeah.
what countries are available? What countries can claim TPS right now?
I mean, off the top of my head, I'm not gonna be able to mention them all, but definitely Sudan, definitely
Well, we can search it. Like, isn't that
yeah.
something like
I mean,
like
I know most of them. So Sudan, Burma, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Haiti, Venezuela, Ukraine.
check it out. So I'm gonna show you
I'm
how
gonna
this program is pretty cool because I'm gonna just genius you. No, I'm not right here. So we're gonna share this. So you can see this is the temporary protected status website. So we
right.
can see what is TPS country, when and where countries
Go to
currently
countries
designated.
currently. There you go. So
So we have Yemen, Venezuela, Ukraine, Syria, Sudan, Somalia, Nicaragua still on there, Honduras, Haiti, cool,
yeah,
Salvador. So these guys, so someone from Afghanistan can just figure out how to get to the U.S. and then apply for TPS once they're here.
they would have to already have been in here. Whenever you apply for TPS, it's for people who are already inside
So they have to figure out how to get in here illegally or get and then,
or just get here,
just
just
get
be
here.
here,
Well,
be
it's
here.
illegal if they don't have a visa, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. Like it's not a plan. It's not a plan for you to take into consideration if you're outside the states, right? Like
So
that's not gonna work.
you have to first illegally come to the U.S. and then you
Oh,
apply for
you don't
TPS
have to come here illegally. There's people, for example, that came in
on
totally
a tourist
legally,
visa, I guess,
want to
right?
stay in a tourist visa, or maybe they were under a different visa and it was about to expire, but because they designated that country on the TPS, they can apply for it, and it's totally fine. There's a lot of people who came in legally, but then now they have the opportunity to apply, and and they have that status.
I
But
have
one,
one.
one
I have
one thing that I wanted to mention, right? So just to go back, I know we dove into the TPS, but like to go back to how the executive, right, that the current government can make some drastic changes that can have a huge impact on people when it comes to TPS, essentially, right? So I mean, I don't want to get into too much detail of the immigration laws, but essentially, there's things that are called inadmissibility, right, that or things that don't allow you to do what is called an adjustment of status if you're here in the United States, and a lot of those are whether or not you've been out of status. So if you came here, for example, say on a tourist visa, and you stayed longer than the 6 months, right, that typically will not allow you to do an adjustment. There's some exceptions, but in general, I'm giving you an example of what would happen. So for example, with people with TPS, what sort of like the courts have said, and this is at the federal level, right? They've said, right? is that, people who are in TPS, they came in and made the argument, and now it's being accepted in USCIS, where people who are in TPS, even though, for example, they came in either illegally or they're outside of the time that they gave them initially when they came in with a tourist visa, say, right, legally, but
Yeah.
they wouldn't be able to adjust if they're able to get out with what it's called an advanced parole. An advanced parole is essentially a permit for you to travel, right? When you're here in some sort of a visa, right?
Yeah.
Or or even if you don't have
You
status.
can get advanced parole, and
Okay.
that's taking forever right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's taking some time, but like it's a good strategy in order to solve your immigration issue. So, for example, you could be, say, I don't know, like a Nicaraguan, or you've been here, you came here undocumented, you got TPS, you're fine now. But if they take TPS away for Nicaragua next month, it's over, right? He's back into into a limbo where he's not under status. So now, if you do a travel permit, right, which is an advanced parole, and you come back in, you're basically, what they're saying, their stance is that you were inspected on that entry, which means that your previous illegal entry, or your previous expiration of the status that you have, is sort of like erased. And now, because you came in legally, right, you're able now to apply for a residency. Say if you have a family member that can apply for you, and you no longer have that issue of you not being able to adjust because you had came in either illegally or you
Okay.
stayed for over the time that you did.
Okay. Clip of the U.S. Immigration Foundation live stream. We go live every Monday, and we are answering all of your questions. If you have a specific immigration question or tax question, international tax, show up on Monday or just post the comment here. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow the channel if you have other questions about immigration or moving to the U.S., and we want to just help you out. So thank you for being here. Like, subscribe, follow, and we'll see you on Monday.